Good evening, everybody. I understand this is the last session. I just got to know that. And I'll not stand in between you and the beautiful evening that you have. But as all of you are aware, indirect tax is taking up a lot of the CFO's time, and I understand that most of the audience today is a CFO audience, and they have, if I take a survey generally to understand how much of your time goes where, I get to know that most of the CFOs spent a huge amount of time, more than 25%, and anything between 25 to 60% of their time in tax. At the outset, it's an honor to see to it that I'm speaking to you on this important topic on the journey of indirect tax. And as I said, people spend more time on taxation, and I understand you already had a keynote on the technological aspects on direct tax. But I think something that has touched technology the most in the last decade is indirect tax. And all of you will believe, all of you will agree with me that after GST coming in, technology has played the most important role in the way we do compliances. Whenever I meet my MD, he simply tells me one thing: एक चीज से डर लगता है, किसी चीज से डर नहीं लगता है, एक चीज से डर लगता है, that is a surprise in taxation, and that can come anytime. And if you see, this dar was very real maybe some time ago. But now I can stand up and tell the board, I can stand up and tell the senior management that yes, there is no issue in taxation thanks to the technology that we have today. In fact, this is the area as we close the 8th anniversary of GST implementation. This is an area where everybody has paid a lot of attention. If you look at the four corners of this GST glass piece, you will see, on one side the government and policymakers, on the second the taxpayers, on the third the tax professionals like you and me, and on the fourth side would be the technology manufacturers or the technology developers. All four have converged together to see to it that we have the era that we have today. But it was not all easy like this as it is today. In fact, if you touch upon the history of indirect tax, before GST, I think most of you will believe and will agree with me that very few professionals wanted to get into indirect tax. That was because of the plethora of laws that we had, the complexities, the compliances being very specific, the touch points being the officers at a lower level, and therefore nobody wanted to get into that. That one single legislation that changed everything, or that was a trigger to change a lot of things, was the GST implementation. And after GST implementation, I would divide the entire history or entire journey into maybe four broad parts. The first was the confusion and chaos, where you see that the law was not very clear, the systems were not properly working, we were not getting the data that you wanted, the returns were getting delayed and stuff like that. The second phase was the phase of development, where everybody understood that it's important to embrace technology here. It's important to see to it that we all work coercively to get things done. Government also understood that it's important to make laws easier. Wherever not possible, let's postpone things. Let things take its own shape. So 2017 to 2019 or mid of 20 was a confusion stage. From 20 to 22, 23 was the stage where things started stabilizing. Government came out with clear rules. The technology guys also came up. We also have a very clear roadmap at that point in time as to what are we looking at as the GST collection is concerned. The third phase is where the developers jumped into GST. The programmers, the software industry came into it. And that was where, we built in efficiency into this indirect taxation. That is where today we could say that, the things that we were, for filing one return, I remember we used to prepare for almost 6 days. Now we do it within 6 hours. Not even that sometimes. And this was all monthly return. So imagine the kind of time that people used to put in. And we had, a good session on FP&A where we talked about employment being generated. I think GST is one of the biggest employment generator to that way. GST again, the third phase which I was talking about, where technology came in, people came in, lot of tools were developed to see to it that it helps us brilliantly satisfy everything, the transparency, the compliance, as well as avoiding litigation. And the technology is helping us not only in doing compliances, but the technology, the tools that have been developed also help us in doing a lot of strategic planning. So as you know, tax function is again divided into 3 parts. You do a strategic planning, you do compliance, and then ultimately you end up into litigation. Now I see that, earlier there were firms there were companies which would love to do litigation. In fact, there were litigation teams. Now I have seen a lot of changes happening in the mindset. People want to see to it that they strategically plan, and technology helps us in doing all that. In fact, FP&A gives us a lot of massage data to take decisions on how to go about planning our GST. And ultimately, all this helps us in avoiding litigation. So strategic planning helps us to see to it that we take right calls at the right time, to avoid any non-compliances on the second step, and to avoid any litigation in the third step. So this is the third phase post GST implementation, where we have seen a lot of technology coming in, and this era is still going on. In fact, we now have robotic processes, we now have AIs, we now have machine learning, we now have automated notice extractors, we have crawlers. The government has now come out with an API which can interact with the GST portal, though it is yet to be tested. We now have a kind of the entire technology coming together to see to it that there is an efficiency in the GST function. I know when GST was in its nascent stage, I know people hiring a lot of guys in anticipation of a lot of work coming in. Now they have seen that, because of efficiency, the requirement of manpower has completely come down. The idea is to see to it that we don't spend time in doing non-productive things, which is like compliance. The government has also contributed significantly to this. The GSTIN portal, which handles billions of transactions every month. I think imagine, it's not easy. It's easier to see our to be populated or our 26As coming in, but you imagine the kind of data that the government handles. Government also brought in e-way bill to track the movement of goods, and again, huge number of transactions are being tracked to the length and breadth of this country. Anytime you want to find out any given product, any given truck, where it is, in what stage of its transport, you'll get to know from the GSTIN. They have built in e-invoice. Again, very few countries in the world have come to this e-invoice criteria. In fact, India was one of the earlier ones, where the automatic for e-invoice would throw the data into the purchaser, and then he would see that in his 2A instantly. The portal has come up, the portal has been revamped now, and you will see that a lot of errors that were faced earlier are now completely disappeared. In fact, government has ensured that the support that they have on the implementation of this is also up to the mark. So having said that, we all have come to a stage where we all, especially people like us who have been in this field for a long time, do unlearn and again learn, again unlearn and then again learn. And this is only possible if we embrace technology. Apart from this, it is also important to understand how do we look at the future of indirect tax. If we look at the way things are happening today, and if we are satisfied with that, I think you are mistaken. We'll see a sea change in the next 3 to 4 years. We will possibly see auto generation of ITC. We'll possibly see the ITC mismatches coming out from the portal. We'll possibly see the returns being very clearly auto-populated, 9 also coming in automatically. You just need to sign off the 9C and that would be the end of the annual return. So a lot of developments still going on, but I think whatever we have done till now is also commendable. The kind of efficiencies that we have built in our organization because of this technology is enormous. I personally would, who's gone through this entire torture, would be the witness to say that it is very critical that we not only get into what happens inside the portal, but also understand what are the implications of that. And therefore, it is very important that when you file your return itself, when you do the compliance, you understand where this information is going to go. The future is where they may integrate the income tax portal with the GST portal. They may integrate the income tax portal, GST portal with the customs portal. And then there would be a seamless information exchange. Today, we already have the income tax portal talking to various other portals through which they get the data and then they put into your AIS or TIS. Similarly, in indirect tax, we could see a change where the customs portal will show you that you have this much of IGST or this much of import, and therefore you are not eligible to claim anything more than that. So we will see a kind of a change where things will be seamless, and unless we see to it that the technology is being learned, it will become difficult. And this is important not only for the taxpayers, it is important for the policymakers, it is important for the software developers, it is important for all the stakeholders who are involved in this. So we will have to see to it that unless and until you understand what are the complications and implications of the compliance that you do, it would become very difficult for you to take a call on what strategic decision do you take and how do you do your compliance. Looking at this, I think I'll just end saying that let us try and again relearn things, try to see to it that we take technology the way it is. We try to bring in more and more improvement in the way we work, try and bring in more collaborated approach, and bring in efficiency to see to it that we all save on the precious time and effort that we put into GST compliance. Thank you very much for this silent hearing.